Hello and welcome back, YouTube. So tonight has taken an unexpected twist. About, I'm gonna say 25 minutes ago, I just got offered short shift over at HelloFresh Last Mile, their delivery station. So I'm on my way there. The manager just messaged me through the Wonolo app, told me that I could come in as quick as I could get there. It's not supposed to start until 3, but yeah, I'm gonna go make that money. It's been a little over a month since I worked there. I think the last shift I worked there was July 31st. So the last couple times it's popped up on the app, I just missed it. I've either been asleep or I've been otherwise occupied doing other stuff. By the way, 2:15 a.m. Sunday, September 3rd, 2023. Just finished up doing karaoke at Wander Inn, and fortunately I didn't drink much, so I'm good to go to do a warehouse job. I got a pitcher of beer when I got there, and I got there at 10, so yeah, small pitcher. I'm pretty much stone cold sober right now. So I said I was going to do tributes to the late great Jimmy Buffett, and I did. Sang 3 Jimmy Buffett songs tonight. There was a young guy, well, I mean young compared to me, I would say probably in his mid-30s, that was wearing a Jimmy Buffett tour shirt from China that looked very worn and faded. That guy, definitely a bigger Jimmy Buffett fan than me, in spite of his age. The first Jimmy Buffett song I sang he went to Paris, and it seemed lost on most of the crowd. But the guy in the Jimmy Buffett shirt just absolutely lit up. That's what I wanted to see. I figured there had to be at least 1, maybe 2 real Jimmy Buffett fans in there that would know that song and get stoked about it. And the rest of the crowd, you know, oh, Jimmy Buffett, yeah, the Margaritaville guy, would have no idea what it was. I enjoyed singing it. It's a really decent, deep song. It's one that definitely hits a little different now that Jimmy's passed. Sang that one, and then he followed up with Son of a Sailor. Again, great Jimmy Buffett song. Next round of karaoke went down, and then when it came back to me, I had also put in Sing Come Monday. That's hands down my favorite Jimmy Buffett song. That's the song that turned me on to Jimmy Buffett when I was a kid. When that played on the radio, that was shortly after my father had remarried and got custody of me. Late 70s, left me in the care of his second wife constantly, and yeah, I really couldn't stand a second wife. That hasn't changed to this day. She always drove around in her fairly recent Monte Carlo that my dad bought, and listened to KJ Radio, which was an AM country station, and most of the music that played on there I wanted nothing to do with. I didn't particularly like country music, and I resented the fact that I was forced to listen to country music while being drug along with her on all kinds of boring ass errands in her car, as opposed to, you know, being actually with my mother. However, I like music, and there were some songs that came on KJ Radio that I did like. One of them was Come Monday by Jimmy Buffett. Whenever that came on, I was like, well, finally, at least a good song on here. And ended up buying that 45. I mean, obviously, I didn't buy it. One of my parents bought it for me when I was a kid, but still, like, I remember getting that 45 when the song was current. And that was my gateway to Jimmy Buffett. And I've pretty much listened to Jimmy Buffett ever since. Had to sing Come Monday. That's one of those songs that I just loved since I was little. And absolutely nailed that one. That one, most of the crowd that was there knew. So I got a hell of a crowd response out of that one. And then the younger guy with the weathered Jimmy Buffett t-shirt on from a Chinese tour. That was wild. I had no idea I'd see a shirt like that tonight. He sang Changes in Latitudes, Changes in Attitudes, also really great song. And yeah, good time. Wasn't too long after that, his group rolled out and the crowd thinned out. So less of a crowd. In some ways it's not as much fun, but in some ways when the crowd thins out, it's a good thing. I get to sing more. After that I figured I'd do something different since the one hardcore Jimmy Buffett fan had rolled out. Sometimes when I can't think of what song I want to sing, I'll open up my Discogs app, open it to my library, and shake my iPhone. Discogs in the app has a feature, and I think it's in both the iPhone and the Android version, but it works better on the iPhone, where when you open up the app to your music library, you can shake the phone, and it'll randomly pop up something that you own to help people who have large music collections decide what to listen to if they're indecisive. Now, I've never needed that to think of something to listen to. There's so much music in my music library. Most of the time I listen to what's already out. Like I've already pulled some stuff out that I'm wanting to listen to. It's sitting right there by my turntable, or it's already in the cassette deck, or otherwise, sitting near one of my stereo systems. Or I've got something that's on my mind that I'm really wanting to listen to, and I go grab it and listen to it. It's very rare that I don't have something specific I want to listen to. In those rare moments, I generally have some recent arrivals, and I just flip through them and pick out something that I've recently purchased that I haven't listened to yet. Or I do have one shelf of vinyl that's stuff that I'm really into and stuff that I've recently purchased and haven't filed into my full collection because I feel I need to play it more. Whoa, that's an odd place to park. I never shake the Discogs app to pick out a record to play. However, I've found sometimes when I'm at a karaoke bar and I just don't have any songs stuck in my head and I'm undecided as to what I want to sing, I'll do that and see what kind of random shit it picks out from my own music collection. I don't always sing what it pops up, but sometimes it'll pop up something by a given artist that I haven't thought of, and that'll make me want to sing something else by that artist. Or maybe pull up a Wikipedia list of their singles and pick out, generally speaking, karaoke tracks are made available for the hit singles of an artist, and look at which singles they have and which song of their singles I want to sing. Anyway, when I shook it, it pulled up a rather obscure, later in his career, Elvis Costello album that I've listened to a few times. I've enjoyed the album, but it's not one that I've played many, many times or got deep into, and I couldn't even tell you the name of the album off the top of my head. I know what the cover art looks like. I know where it is in my CD collection. But there are several albums from Elvis Costello that I really, really like, and that's not one of them. Couldn't tell you the name of any of the songs on it. I can't even tell you the name of the album. I just know it has like a kind of a pastel, hand-drawn artwork cover, and the CD is in a cardboard eco pack. But no, I don't remember it. And I remember it came out early 2000s. Anyway, that aside, that got me thinking, yeah, I should sing some Elvis Costello. So went on to Wikipedia, pulled up the Elvis Costello discography, and was scrolling through and decided on Every Day I Write the Book. And I don't know that I've ever sang that before, but thoroughly enjoyed singing it. I feel like I totally nailed it. The handful of people that were still in the karaoke area seemed to really enjoy it. And I got a lot of applause from the bar area, which doesn't always clap for the karaoke singers because it's kind of separated. So apparently it was good enough that it had them listening. So that's always nice. Didn't expect I was going to get another song in, but a handful of the other singers that were singing quit, so the rotation kind of shrunk down. And Kimmy came up to me, he's like, hey, pick out another song. I had time to squeeze you in for one more. And I'm like, really? How about one more Jimmy Buffett song? And she's like, oh, what one? I'm like, oh, greatest love song ever recorded. Why don't we get drunk? And of course she had that. Of course I sang that. It's kind of surprising I didn't sing it earlier. Now that's one I used to sing for karaoke all the time, especially back when I used to host, like before I hosted at Gilligan's. I mean, I sang it occasionally at Gilligan's, but it would have been kind of lost in the Gilligan's crowd. But I had an older crowd when I worked at the Ox and some of the other shows that I had when I first started out doing karaoke. And I believe the karaoke version that I have actually came from the Serial Killer collection. Super long story short, my original karaoke disc collection was left behind at a serial killer whose karaoke hosting job I took over. So that's where my track for Why Don't We Get Drunk came from. So I've had that available like since I started as a karaoke host. And it's such a perfect song to sing at a bar when you consider so many people there are just looking to get drunk and looking to get laid. And probably should have sang it when the crowd was packed and there was one table with some pretty serious Jimmy Buffett fans at it. Anyway, had an absolute blast singing that. Speaking of that song and Jimmy Buffett, this woman that I've been kind of crushing on, and her and I sometimes chat late at night, send pictures and memes and little sound clips to each other. And I was in a rental car and I landed on, as I explained, when I get in the rental cars, I just get sound on. And whatever station it comes up on, then that's what I listen to, as long as it's playing something that I enjoy listening to. And my tastes are extremely varied. So odds are pretty good it's going to come on something that I'm going to enjoy listening to for the next 3 minutes. Anyway, there's an XM station that's actually Jimmy Buffett themed. I think it's called Barefoot Radio. I might be wrong on this, but I know there's a Jimmy Buffett themed channel. And I landed on that. Right as I landed on that, it was starting a live version of Why Don't We Get Drunk? And I just had to bust out my phone and record the chorus and send it to her as I sang along with it. And that was just a couple of days ago. Like I had no idea that at that time that Jimmy Buffett's days were so numbered. But anyway, had to sing that today. Rest in peace, Jimmy Buffett. Thanks for all the great music. I'm off to HelloFresh delivery. Been over a month. Speaking of HelloFresh delivery in Wonolo, now it was, I want to say about 3 weeks ago. It was 3 weeks ago that I showed up for not HelloFresh delivery, but the regular HelloFresh, ready to work, showed up on time, and then popped my trunk and realized that my hoodie was missing. And kind of freaked out about it, because with just 2 t-shirts on, there's no way I'm working in 38 degrees refrigerated storage. It's not happening. And I didn't really know what I should have done, and maybe I should have went to the door and checked in and explained my situation to the Wonolo rep, but I was not in the best frame of mind, and I left to a Goodwill. Well, I tried to find a Goodwill. There were no Goodwills anywhere close, so I ended up wasting quite a bit of time trying to figure out where the hell a nearby Goodwill was that was open. And by the time I got there, I was so late for work that I was already in the point of like having issues with Wonolo over it. And Wonolo's customer service has proven to be borderline worthless. So I looked up what the penalties were, and I'm like, okay, so I get a breach point. Apparently I can never recover from that. Well, that sucks. But it shouldn't impact me too terribly. I get suspended for a couple of days and then back to business as usual. At least that's what it looked like. That's what the stuff I read would indicate. So I went ahead and canceled it about, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes after the job was supposed to start. Figured I was going to be unable to accept any jobs for the remainder of the weekend, the next 3 days, although it kept offering me jobs nonstop all weekend long. And at one point, maybe a day and a half later, when I didn't have the time to do it, could have done it anyway, I did open one of those things, and it looked like I would have been able to accept it. Now, I didn't try to accept it. It's possible if I had tried to accept it that I might have got a message telling me, oh no, you're currently suspended, you can't do this. But it got me to the point where I could click it to accept it, which seems weird. You think it would have told me I couldn't accept it sooner than that. Anyway, next weekend, not a problem. Well, actually, there was a bit of a problem next weekend. I worked one shift, and then the second shift I worked, there were a lot of things going wrong at HelloFresh that day, and I got frustrated. I left like 3 hours early. But the job got approved. I got paid. There's a lot of Wonoloers do that all the time over there, and it's been my understanding it's not really a big deal as long as you make it through to the second break. So I didn't get any kind of notice from that there was an issue with it. In fact, I got paid. And in fact, since then, I've gotten an email from Wonolo telling me that I'm preferred at HelloFresh and that I will get their notices ahead of other people. Okay, cool. So I go to accept this gig here at HelloFresh Last Mile, HelloFresh Delivery, which is a separate thing, separate job, different management. And I get a thing as I'm doing it. This thing says review your breach points, and I get this: review your breach status. 3 breach points in 30 days. You currently have permanent limited access to jobs. What the fuck were the other 2 breach points? I was under the impression that me leaving early at the one job was not a problem. Now, granted, I didn't run that by anybody, but I've never received anything telling me that it was a problem. Job got approved, and since I've got the email, this email here, showing that I'm preferred status there. So what the fuck is this 3 breach points? And as if that's not weird enough, right after that, I get this thing here telling me, continue looking. While you may not accept any new jobs until your background check is cleared, feel free to explore other jobs through Wonolo at this time. What the hell? I completed my background check like about 2 months ago. So I don't know what the fuck's going on with Wonolo. Obviously, I'm going to have to try to get a hold of their customer service because they're pretty ridiculous right now. Now, granted, they did offer me to do some stupid 1-hour online class to make the 1 breach point go away, which I haven't bothered to do because whatever the class has to tell me, I'm sure it's not going to be anything helpful. I'm sure it's just going to be the typical bullshit of, hey, it's important to be reliable and show up to work on time. Motherfucker, I did show up to work on time. I realized I was missing a necessary piece of PPE needed for me to work in that environment. I don't have an easy solution for that. I just said, fuck it, and went home. Probably not the best thing I could have done in that situation, but from what I've seen, trying to contact customer service through the app in a tight situation just gets you to somebody who's probably in a foreign country that can't help you anyway. It's 2:36. I need to get my ass there and get to work. Granted, I'm not scheduled to start until 3, but I did get a message from the manager, and I'm pretty sure it's a manager that I've been working with every night except my first night here, that really likes me here and has actually been kind of asking me, hey, can you please come on full time? I might actually talk to him about this, because if I could have this regularly scheduled and I can work it with my schedule with Hertz, I'm definitely down to work here more. Anyway, thanks for coming with me on the drive. Thanks for watching.